I continue to say this is absolutely the best time to buy Bitcoin. That risk adjusted, and also the time that people have to wait now. Like I was early. I could have walked in 3 months ago. Like 3 months ago would have been like, whoa, this is awesome. I'm coming in right now. Even if you miss 30, 40, my average cost is 40,767. Sometimes people look at me that have been around longer than you have, and they're like, whoa, really, dude? And I'm like, your cost isn't just like 10,000. I don't care if you've been here for like 30 years, dude. No, people didn't add. They stopped adding.
That's right.
And I don't get it, Scott.
Well, they sold.
They stopped adding.
We all talk about the luck of being a 2000. First of all, to your point, every person who buys Bitcoin is jealous of the person who bought Bitcoin 2 years ago. Doesn't matter when you bought it. If you bought it in 2014, you hate the 2012 guys. If you bought it in 2012, you're jealous of the 2010 guys, and they're mad at the guys who were like getting it for free on an internet site when they were early promoting Bitcoin, right? So everybody always feels like they're too late to this asset class, no matter when they buy. That's just the way that it feels because you see other people that got it at a lower cost basis. But if you bought it 30,000 or 40,000, if it's at $1 million, it's not going to matter. Right? It's a rounding error at that point. And if you have the low time preference and you're zoomed out, that's the kind of approach I think that you should be taking to Bitcoin. The rest of it, you got to get in and out of largely, right? But Bitcoin, I think that that's the approach. I don't think that you're late at all. And the point I was making earlier, almost everyone I know who bought at $100 or less sold at $1,000 because they couldn't believe they had made a 10x on this nascent thing that was an idea. And I'm not blaming them. Imagine you buy something for $50 that literally everybody's telling you goes to zero, and you make a 20x. You make $1 million, like you're out of here, right? And the rest of them lost it in Mount Gox. So like it's very, very hard to have been one of those early people and to still be holding the Bitcoin that you bought at that point. So even if you bought Bitcoin at 2,000 or 3,000 or 10, the odds that you're still holding that very Bitcoin, I would say, are very, very small. Mark Yusko, he loves to tell a story every time he comes on. He says, how many people do you know own the Amazon IPO still? You've heard him say this?
Yep.
He says, Bezos, his wife, and their parents, 4 of them. Everybody else sold at some point. Do you forget Amazon in, 2000 or 2001 went down 95%, and it was just a bookstore. Nobody could envision what it would become. People just, we're terrible at being patient for something to go parabolic. We always sell too early. That's why you get time-based capitulation. That's why you get sideways and down price action at times like now. But we're equally bad at understanding how parabolic things can go when they fly.
Yeah. The point I was trying to make was that and you've seen some of this, but I think the greatest wealth that will be made in this industry is getting ready to be made.
Oh, yeah.
This time it's going to be retained. I'm sad to say I'm not sure it's going to be from most of the beginners, the guys that first started. Not sure they've learned the lesson. Because I still, I'm one of the most bullish people I know in this space, man. I am so bullish, and people look at me that have been around a long time. They're like, yeah, not so sure. I'm like, dude, this thing, y'all stop buying your story. I think they have stopped buying their story for some reason. Scott, do you know what I mean? Because this should be the perfect asset class, and it's literally at the perfect time that the world needs it, dude.
Yeah, and so the people that make the money are going to be the ones that somehow maintain that long time frame and zoomed out thinking, and that's going.
It's the long time.
Sadly, for better or worse, that's going to be the institutions, right? So you think about what BlackRock's doing. I hate to keep coming back to them, but you have to talk about BlackRock now when you talk about Bitcoin. Now, if you're an early Bitcoiner and you're buying it as a hedge against the government, you don't love that BlackRock's here, but right, unless you just love that they're going to pump your bags. But the fact is, this is becoming a institutionalized Wall Street asset. For better or for worse. You can argue that that's good or bad. That's not the conversation we're having. Larry Fink knows exactly what's coming, right? He got the ETF approved. If you think that the end game for Bitcoin was ETF approval, then you've never seen what's happened to every asset in history that's gotten an ETF finally approved or that's been institutionalized. We just saw options trading approved on the BlackRock ETF. That should be a much bigger story than it is, first of all, because that gives these institutions the ability to hedge. It gives them the ability to participate with less cash. There's a number of reasons. But what that tells you is that we're seeing the evolution of, okay, now you can buy this spot ETF. You don't have to buy the underlying if you don't want to. I think you should buy the underlying, but you don't have to buy if you don't want to. Now we're getting options on it. Well, guys, what do you think? Now we're seeing SAB 121, which was vetoed, saying that the biggest banks couldn't custody it. Well, now magically, the biggest bank and custodian in the world, BNY Mellon, has gotten approval, has gotten basically an exception from SAB 121 so that they can custody crypto assets. Now, is that right? No, that's wrong, right? They're screwing over our industry. The Caitlin Longs of the world have been screaming about this. They're giving exceptions to the people that they want to control Bitcoin, for better or for worse. But BNY Mellon is the largest custodian on the planet, right? So what does it mean when you have the largest custodians on the planet, the Goldman Sachs, State Streets, BNY Mellons coming into the space? It means that the next products that are inevitably coming are going to be yield and lending and everything you've seen with every meaningful asset class in the world. It's just going to absolutely explode. Do I think you need to take a loan against your Bitcoin? I can't say if that's right or wrong for you, but is it safer to do that with BNY Mellon than with Celsius? 100%. Right? Yeah. It's going to exist. So the point being that everything that's made any other asset class in the past become legitimate and explode, we're at the first starting line, first out of the first inning of that process.
Yeah, and they don't do this if they think it's some bubble gum, guys. Okay, they think this is a $1 trillion opportunity. Institutions don't do this size. Franklin Templeton has been studying this market over 8 years. Like what's interesting to me?
He's been in since like 2014.
Yeah. What's interesting to me is if this is the entire crypto value chain from mining all the way to Joe Consumer, every major institution has taken now one part of the financial world has gone in and drilled into almost every piece of the value chain now. Okay. Franklin Templeton, you got BNY Mellon now talking custody. Quite frankly, you say it's unfair. I say, hey, that is exactly how this works. Custodia Bank will now get it, but they're going to give it to a major player. They want to safeten up this marketplace. And I have never seen a greater validation of an industry when you see every major player doing this, dude. There isn't anyone except Vanguard that's sitting off to the side. Okay. And nobody cares about them. Nobody cares. You have Deloitte with 2,000 people. Ernst & Young has 400 people. KPMG has a whole monster team. It's not just the banks, dude. It is literally every industry is starting to support Bitcoin and the ancillary activities that go around this industry.